Welcome to Communication Skills Part 2. In the previous recording, we talked about the importance of good communication, using the right method and thinking about what we wanted to say, but in addition we kept active listening in mind, because that too forms an essential part of developing good communication skills. So that's where I'm going to start, with a reminder about active listening. You'll hear it mentioned many times over in the Psychological Education suite of recordings, but I can't stress enough just how important active listening is, both in a psychological first aid situation and in general conversation, and you can practice adopting this stance when you're involved in any communication. I think you'll be surprised just how effective it can be and how it may change the relationship you have with the other person. Okay, let's make a start. So what do you do when you actively listen? Well, you'll look at the person. If you have difficulty making eye contact, and many people do just look down slightly at the person's mouth, it can take time to actually maintain eye contact, and in some cultures it isn't acceptable, so a lip stare seems the best alternative. That way you can't go wrong. What next? Pay attention to the body language used. You know body language can tell us an awful lot about the real feelings and thoughts that might be going on. It's well worth engaging in some extra reading in relation to body language, as this will really hone your active listening skills and become aware of your own body language. For example, you might think you're listening to the other person, but your facial expressions might convey something completely different. Avoid distractions that could be anything from the phone ringing to making a mental shopping list in your own head. Distractions are numerous, but can all get in the way of active listening. Make sure you can't be interrupted. That's really important. You don't want to be in the middle of a difficult conversation only to be interrupted at a crucial point. Nod and to acknowledge what's being conveyed by the other person. Don't interrupt. Wait for a natural space to occur. Reflect back to the speaker what you hear. Check things out if you don't understand. Try not to think about what you are going to say, and instead mindfully listen to the story you are being told. Don't become impatient if the other person needs time to tell you what's happening. Think about what's being said to you. Take your time and breathe through the conversation. Okay, there's lots to think about, and we're on to empathic listening. If you listen to a speaker adopting an empathic position, it will help you decode the messages being conveyed much more accurately. To understand a message correctly involves understanding the emotions and the underlying feelings the speaker is expressing. Let's think about the nonverbal cues. I mentioned them earlier when I spoke about body language. The empathic communicator will also pick up on what is not being conveyed to them. For example, a speaker might be explaining how upset he or she was when her best friend got dumped by a long-term partner. However, you notice that as the story is being told, the speaker is smiling. This gives mixed messages and provides opportunity for you to clarify what's really being conveyed in the message, and allows you to start using your active listening skills. Feedback. When you convey a message to another person, it's important to receive feedback, because without it you can't be sure whether or not you've been heard or understood correctly. Sometimes feedback is verbal, but at other times it can be conveyed using the methods discussed previously by body language. Perhaps the most important part of feedback is through body language, because it provides a rich source of clues as to the effectiveness of our communication. By watching facial expressions, gestures and posture, you can get a feel for agreement, confidence, defensiveness, interest, truth, understanding, and engagement. The list I've given is by no means exhaustive, and you may want to add some of your own based on the experiences you've had from contact with other people. Conflict. Conflict in relationships are inevitable, but it isn't the conflict that causes the problem. It's often more about how you handle it. Poor handling of any conflict, whether professional or personal, can further damage or destroy relationships, whilst good handling can improve and enhance them. You don't have to wait until you're involved in a conflict to try out the ideas I've suggested. you can get into the habit of using specific skills right now and enjoy the potential benefits of improved relationships. So what do you need to do? Well, the first thing is to listen carefully. People often think they're listening carefully, but instead what they're actually doing is thinking about what they are going to say next when the other person stops talking. It's important to remember that effective communication goes both ways, and although you might find it difficult to listen, give it a go. Just hear what's being said, and then reflect it back so the other person knows you've heard and understood properly. Don't interrupt or get defensive, just hear and then reflect back. It is in this way that you'll get to know the other person better, and the more likely that they will be more willing to listen to you when it's your turn. Be aware of your body language while you are listening and make a conscious effort to adopt an open posture. Stay relaxed and curious toward the other person. See the other point of view. When involved in conflict, most of us want to be heard and understood, and we talk a lot about our point of view as we try to get the other person to see things from our perspective. However, if we always do this, then we won't focus at all on what the other person is trying to get across, and in the end it's unlikely that all involved in the conversation will feel misunderstood. Ultimately, there will be no communication and a potential for ill feeling to emerge. It's important to make a real effort to see the other side of the conversation, and then you're likely to have a better opportunity to explain your point of view. Ask questions if you don't understand what's being said, but wait for opportune moments. Keep clarifying until you get it, and remember, others will be more likely to listen to you if they feel heard. Criticism and feedback. When someone responds to what you are saying with criticism, it can be easy for you to feel that they are somehow wrong, and you're likely to climb on the defensive. It can be very hard to hear criticism, as it can feel like a personal attack and be received so. However, disapproving comments can often be exaggerated and coloured by the other person's emotions, values and belief system. So the next time you feel someone's getting at you, try to listen for the other person's pain and respond with empathy to their feelings. Don't forget to be open to the truth in what they're saying to you as well, as this can be extremely valuable information, even though you might think it hurtful when you first hear what's being said to you. Own what's yours. If you start realizing that personal responsibility is a strength and not a weakness, you'll start to realize that admitting when you're wrong enhances effective communication. If you're able to make distinctions between what belongs to you during a conflict, you'll soon discover that any potential difficulties diffuse and inspires the other person to respond in the same way. This will lead you to a mutual understanding and possibly a solution to what may at first appear to be a problem. Keep focused. All too easily you can drift into the past and bring related and unrelated conflicts into the conversation. However, this often clouds the issue you're currently discussing and makes a mutual understanding less likely. Try not to bring up the past, and this includes hurtful things and emotions. Stay in the present, focus on the current conversation, your feelings, emotions, and concentrate on understanding one another and finding a solution in the now. Work on finding an agreeable solution. Use I. Try to avoid using you, as in you never help me or you never get up early. Begin your sentences with I. I would really like it if you helped me now and again. I will bring you a cup of tea, and then I would like you to go for a walk with me. It doesn't mean that using I will get you what you want. It just means you've started to own the statement you are going to make. Make the statements about yourself and your feelings, not other people. I feel frustrated when. I feel happy when. I want. I would. I am. I can. I will. Using I is less accusatory. It doesn't trigger defensive behaviour in the other person, and it helps the other person to understand your point of view rather than feeling attacked. Look for compromise. Don't try and win an argument. Look for a solution that attempts to meet everyone's needs. This might be obtained through compromise or a completely new solution that satisfies all those involved in the discussion. This type of focus is much more effective than one person getting their own way at the other's expense. Healthy communication involves finding a satisfactory outcome for all of those involved. Take time out. Sometimes arguments just get too heated and discussion becomes impossible as shouting is replaced by a full-blown argument or a physical fight. It's important to recognize these signs because a shouting match is likely to lead to destructive communication patterns and cause difficulties in the relationship. It's okay to take time out. Take a break from the discussion, reflect and cool down, because good communication thrives on both parties knowing what to do and when to do it. Walking away and giving some thought to what you're actually trying to achieve can be extremely beneficial. Don't give up. Although you may decide to take a break from the discussion, as in the previous point, it's equally as important to return to it. If you don't, those unanswered parts of the conversation are likely to fester and cause problems later on. If you are able to approach the situation with a positive attitude, mutual respect, willingness to discuss multiple viewpoints, and a determination to find some sort of solution, you can at least make progress towards resolving the conflict. If you're not giving up on the relationship, don't give up on the communication. Ask for help. Don't forget, if one or both of you have trouble remaining respectful during conflict, or if you've tried to resolve a specific conflict and been unable to do so, you may benefit from some professional help. Couple counselling, behavioural family therapy, or family therapy can prove extremely beneficial because it can teach skills, strategies, and techniques that will help you to resolve present and potential future conflicts. If you're involved in conflict at a romantic level, then it's often useful to stay in physical contact during the conversation. Hold hands, stay connected, and remind each other that yes, you still care despite this particular conflict. Remain respectful to one another even if you don't agree and are not keen on the recent behaviours and actions. Remember, it can take a lot of effort to communicate effectively, and you'll have to practice. However, if you want to get the most out of life and not let those opportunities pass you by, then it's important to keep trying out your communication skills. By learning the skills of communication, you will be able to put forward your idea, make your points clearly, and understand much more of the information being given to you. As the speaker or listener, writer or reader, you are responsible for ensuring that messages, whatever the size, are communicated accurately. Pay attention to the body language, dependent on the chosen method of communication, words and actions, and don't forget to ask questions. All of this will help you to say what you mean and hear what is intended. Tips for effective communication. Maintain eye contact. Look at the person you're communicating with. Don't stare, and make sure you feel comfortable with the eye contact you're making. Techniques. Active listening is the key to good communication, knowing how to listen to another person without interruption. Holding back unless the person you are talking with specifically asks or requests advice or wants to know how you handled a situation. Hold back and let the speaker tell the story. Keep an open mind. If you think you're going to disagree with the content you're hearing, don't interrupt. Simply wait until the speaker has finished. Don't make assumptions. Use an appropriate response. It's important to show you understand. And to do this, words such as uh-huh, mm-hmm, and don't forget to nod, raise your eyebrows, say things such as that's interesting or really. Use more direct prompts as well. What did you do then? Or what happened next? Internal distractions. If your own internal distractions keep interfering with your listening skills, just let them pass and keep refocusing on the speaker. This is similar to what you would do in a mindfulness exercise. If you want to listen to mindfulness exercises, then visit Mindfulness and Relaxation. You'll find a link at the bottom of this contents page. Hold back and wait. Even if you feel attacked by the speaker, it's important to let them finish before you defend yourself. This way, you'll know the whole argument or points before responding. Remember, research shows that on average we hear 4 times faster than we can talk. So this means we're in a strong position to sort ideas as they're being given to us and be ready to receive more. Paraphrase. Ask clarifying questions, but wait until the speaker has finished. Use sentences or phrases such as, "So what you're saying is," or, "If I'm to understand correctly, you mean." In relationships, greater communication brings greater intimacy. Parents who listen to their children help them build better self-esteem. Listening properly in the business world saves time and money by preventing misunderstanding. Remember, we always learn more when we listen than when we talk. Modelling active listening. Listening helps people to feel worthy and respected. When we listen, we foster the same skill in others by modelling effective and positive communication. Effective communication helps us to understand people and situations better. It also helps us to resolve differences and conflicts, build trust and respect. Communicating well helps us to create environments where ideas, problem-solving, affection and caring can flourish. Although communication appears simple, many of us experience difficulties connecting successfully with other people and are often misunderstood or overlooked. Poor or effective communication can cause frustration in both personal and professional relationships. Effective communication combines a set of skills including nonverbal communication, attentive listening, the ability to manage stress in the moment, and the ability to recognize and understand your own emotions and those of the person that you're communicating with. Although effective communication is a learned skill, it is more effective when it is spontaneous, but it takes time and effort on your part to develop these different skills and become an effective communicator. Remember, the more effort and practice you put in, the more instinctive and spontaneous your communication skills will become. Well, I've reached the end of Effective Communication Part 2, and I hope it goes some way to help you become an effective communicator. Good luck.